So hello everyone and welcome to another episode of W.A.G.E, Women Advocating for Gender Equity. And tonight we're going to be challenging some social issues as always. Tonight is going to be pertaining to the school system, the jail system, and the correlation between the two. We have some speakers that are going to join the conversation tonight. And as always, we use this interactive platform for the entire community to join the conversation as well, to ask questions, to add on of according to whatever you're hearing, whatever you have concerns and questions about, but for sure to become a part of the process here in the conversation. So if you haven't done so already, share the show, share the live, and we'll be right back shortly. And we're ready to begin. We're going to have a robust conversation tonight, so we can't wait to get started.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Like this. Baby, you a heart stopper.
Woke up in my city, yeah, I feel like Big Papa. I feel like Big Papa.
Nah, you gotta go like this, and like this. Baby, you a heart stopper.
Woke up in my city.
So hello everyone, and as I've already welcomed everybody to the W.A.G.E episode, we're really on a part two. We've been on this particular pathway of discussion ever since the school board elections took place, and we were still just so just didn't expect only to come out from school. So I want to welcome Sharonda Allen, friend to the show, educator here, lifelong education advocate. She definitely has the expertise not only in the education field, where she's been so diligent educating our students, but also being a hands-on, 10 toes down community advocate with our children to this day. And we also want to welcome Jody Pittman to the show, which is she's also a heavy education person as well as a community advocate. So she's going to be sharing some comments. And we're going to start off with YouTube, but we're going to have some gentlemen joining the show to add in commentary as well. So let's just kick this off with the first question. I have been very concerned lately that we have seen such uptick in terms of conversation and concern as it relates to the prison reentry. And I don't see a balance when it comes to the intervention that is happening with the jails, right? And the intervention that is definitely not happening within the school system, where we literally in Newark have approximately 40,000 students who are on a strong pathway to majority, right? From school to prison pipeline or school to poverty pipeline. And I don't see the interventions. So Sharonda, we're just going to get your thoughts on that, to hear what you think, and most importantly tonight, to try to uncover what solutions can be attempted and executed.
Well, hello everyone. The first thing I'll say about that is that I definitely don't think that the schools are properly preparing the young people to be 21st century citizens. I do a lot of that work with the young people, and it seems that I get a lot of backlash for actually giving the young people the skills and the activities that they really need in order to be successful and to thrive in a 21st century society. Unfortunately, this pipeline to prison is so obvious to many of us, and the obviousness of it is that we see kids in other communities of other races especially,
Right,
who are doing all these great activities, all these wonderful things that I do with kids, but it's not done on a wider scope. I know it because I've gotten the training, and when we go to these conferences, like we're going to Kane this Sunday, sometimes we're the only group of Black kids, and I just feel like the problem is that a lot of our own people as adults don't look at our children and see the possibilities of what they can be, and to try to put them in the right situations, opportunities, experiences so they can thrive. They downgrade them, they downplay them, and then it's like, okay, what do you expect them to do but go to jail? And then this whole reentry thing is like, people try to act like it's a rite of passage and all that, but the bad part is that they don't have to live like that. They don't have to be like that. They don't have to have those experiences. But
Right.
what happens is we spend more time and more money on an inmate, $60,000 a year for an inmate instead of actually putting to good use $15,000 for a student in the public school system.
Right.
And we got too many people who are, doing personal vendettas and personal friend stuff. When you got all your administrators that, are in a school district, all of them belong to a Divine Nine, that's a problem. That should be investigated. It can't be that the only people that can go into administration are those who paid a bunch of money to join the membership or got hazed when they were an undergrad. That's
Right.
impossible. There's got
Right.
to be other qualified administrators who didn't go and join these organizations. So
Sharon,
that's a major problem.
absolutely, I agree. Sharonda, for the parents who may not know, can you just give them a tiny bit of background and clarity into what you mean when you talk about the Divine Nine?
So, the Divine Nine historically, those black sororities and fraternities were established at PWIs, predominantly white institutions, and they have become main staples at HBCUs, which are historically black colleges or universities. But they started at PWIs because African American students who were trying to study and become educated, they needed to be able to come up with a brotherhood or a sisterhood to come together so they can study together, they can join together so they can survive at these predominantly white institutions that did not give them the right or the same support that they have for themselves or for their own. I got
Right.
my bottle. I just noticed my bottle of Evian spray water because I'm middle aged in my bag. I want to make sure everybody knew what that was. It was looking weird, but um, the problem is that you know as black people, we can't do things that are going to be exclusionary because that exclusionary behavior then carries on to the students. And
Right.
then they're not even included in the educational system that's supposed to be there to educate them. And it becomes this whole education system becomes a gang up type thing where you're not in my circle. I'm going to do whatever I want. And then there's no, earnestness and authenticity and the work that needs to be done for the young people.
Right.
And you would think that they would have their own network of schools by now. Every school would have some sort of after school program with this stuff. It's not even happening, and
Right.
and it's a problem. And I don't want to jump the gun, but parents don't want to. I don't want to sit in there. I don't want to go to that. But sometimes we got to do things we may not want to do as comfort or things that may not just be entertaining us, but we have to do it for the greater good of our children, so
Right.
that their
Absolutely. So let's,
future
yeah.
can be better.
Okay, awesome. So that's a great intro. Great information and content covered there. Thank you, Sharonda. And we're gonna come right back. Jody, do you have anything that you want to add to what Sharonda was just saying?
Um, I'm always that adversarial, right? That I'm going to continue to blame it on parents because this isn't a magical, mystical formula. We see in other school districts of all nationalities, of all income statuses, that when parents are involved and participate in their children's education, parents actually take over districts. If the 30, if 20,000 of the 38,000 parents in Newark showed up, they would become the boss of the district.
Wow.
And that's just a reality because it works in other districts. So after a while, right, much like Sharonda said, but we've actually continued to walk very cautiously when we say that, as if when we call out parents and we consider ourselves leaders, it's like we lose our black card,
Mm.
because that should be a secret. But by this juncture, as many children as North Public Schools have failed,
Right.
and we've watched them be murdered in the streets and given to that prison system. At this juncture, why are we still walking softly, right? In the greatest of movements, the Nation of Islam. When the Nation of Islam started, they went and got heroin addicts off the street. They didn't make that a secret. They didn't make that an Achilles heel. It was our people are being systematically destroyed by white supremacists, and so we're going to go and get them, heal them, tell them the truth, and build them up. So why do we continue to be afraid to say to parents in cities like Newark, you should be ashamed of yourself? Your children need you. You're the only thing that can change it. You just can't be afraid. That's my opinion.
Sheila.
I'm sorry, guys. My mic was muted and I didn't realize it. I apologize for that. What I was saying is, I see where the issues are, right? And you guys make some great points with the parents. But how do we get the messaging across to them? You know, in talking to a few parents, parents were saying that in terms of the election, that they didn't know about the election. Parents were also saying that they I mean, I'm summarizing, but basically saying that it's voter fatigue because it's so many different elections that it's hard to keep up. And many of them ask the question, why don't people just have everything at one time? You know, Sharonda, we'll start with you. What are your thoughts on that? You know, do the parents have a legitimate point in your opinion, or does something else need to take place?
Now, hear me out. I think the parents do not have a legitimate point about everything happening at once. But I have to say that the reason why they don't understand the process and the concept is because they have not been taught any civics. These parents, as Jody said, you know, we got to put it on the parents. I
Right.
struggle with that because I know they came out the same system and they weren't educated, they weren't trained properly. I had been fighting for many years, telling these students they need to put civics into the curriculum as a standalone class. And those folks are telling me, no, no, no. They'll get the civics along the way when they learn the history. And I'm like, no, that's not how it goes. I'm a history teacher and I've written curriculum and it doesn't go like that. But
Mhm.
unfortunately, when people are in charge and they think they know so well and you can't tell them nothing, then things stay all discombobulated. And the problem with having all the elections at once, that's not how it works. And sometimes people have to, again, that's what I said toward the end of my first diatribe, was that sometimes parents have to be quote unquote uncomfortable, because it wasn't uncomfortable for me. I understood all of why we had to vote and do this and do that. But the thing is that folks have been lulled into complacency. You know, you talk about voter fatigue, they don't have voter fatigue. They haven't been voting enough to be fatigued about voting.
Yeah.
They ain't got voter fatigue. I'm tired because I'm always working, going here, going there. Somebody's sitting in the house watching TV all day talking about, oh, I'm tired, I'm fatigued. But you ain't do nothing. And the problem, and I say ain't do nothing because to me, you have to just put it like that. You haven't done anything. You haven't worked on any projects. You haven't made any progress. You haven't made an impact. What's the result? What's the product? What's the service? What have you done for yourself? I'm always like, I just got finished with a class yesterday in person, Rutgers Environmental Steward Program, because I'm always talking about sustainability. And of course, one of my tenets is environmental stewardship. But the problem is, anti-intellectualism has been too pervasive in our communities. And I'm tired of it because everybody walking around with a computer in their hand. This phone, this is a computer. You could be learning anything all day, every day, nonstop. But our people have gotten very confused. They too busy focused on the wrong stuff, and our children are failing. And my problem is that when you go to quote unquote charter schools, and I say quote unquote or whatever, those kids have to conform. There's kids who come from the same households as public schools, but the charter schools make them conform to their way of doing stuff. It don't even have to be the best way, but they got to conform to that way. So
Okay, we're gonna pause right there. We're gonna pause right there, and thank you for
bringing
that, Sharon.
programs and stuff. Those parents, what'd you say?
Yeah, so we're gonna
Hello?
pause right there because I wanna invite I wanna welcome another friend to the show, Muta Alameen. Welcome.
Peace and blessings. How's everybody?
I am well. We are well. So, Muta, thank you for joining us. As you can see, we're talking about, an ounce of prevention being, worth a pound of cure. And if that in fact is the case, why is there not more people involved in intervening with young people on the school level? When we have 3% coming out to vote, basically what I was sharing was I'm just basically getting the opinions of other educators and education advocates in our community, in which you are one. You're definitely an education advocate as well as an advocate for most of the social issues that we're dealing with here. And thank you for your service in that way. I want to go to Jody next, and then I'm going to come to you, Muta, because you're just coming on, so you could like catch a feel where we are. Basically, Sharonda just said, in her opinion, that she's putting a lot of responsibility on the parents because they need to be more involved. They need to be, more active in, the children's education. So, Jody, I want to come to you next to just see what your thoughts are, and then I'm going to circle back to Muta.
Uh, so this is what I know, right?
Mm.
That parents in Newark are intentionally not engaged,
Oh, wow.
right?
Okay.
And when I say intentionally not engaged, the system, nor does the city, so the municipality, nor does the county want parents in Newark engaged
Oh, wow.
because they recognize that if ever the body of parents, not even the entire body, but if ever 20% of the parent and body in Newark came out, they're in trouble, right? So it's intentional that the district doesn't use, and not just the district, right? The board members, the city, the educational structure, the charters, they do not use any specific way of engaging parents. No one wants that. That's that's how they're there. With a billion
Mhm.
dollar with $1 billion budget and children can't read in the third grade on their level. Just think of that, right? So I don't want to. I'm not saying that parents are trash, but this is
Right.
what I am saying. We can't make excuses, right? We're in the most oppressive of our times as black people, right? In slavery. In 1950 to 19 Jesus, well to today, right?
Right.
That oppression. But we had people that lived in the bulk of that oppression and they still were able to fight for their children.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Medgar Evers, these people lived through lynchings when it was legal to lynch a Negro. And they still fought at a level to change the laws. That's
Jody,
the
why do
only
you
thing
think
that
that
will
is?
save black children, right? Only
Mhm.
legislative change will stop police from killing black men. Only legislative change will allow black people to vote without distress or oppression. Only legislative change will change the way in which we disseminate education in this country. That's what those leaders fought for. And they got
Okay.
it. And it has
Right.
never happened again.
Mm. Good point. Muta, what are your thoughts? Oh, you're muted.
Okay, peace and blessings. How's everybody?
Oh, that's better. Yeah.
All right. Just to pick up where Jody left off, as far as it was a fight, and for some reason, we 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 stopped fighting, and a lot of it had to do with they killed a lot of people off. So it wasn't like we just stopped fighting. Like the governmental bodies was extremely violent towards us. Like whenever there was a group of people who stood up, they were met with violence. And what happened, what stemmed from that, is you have the people that were coined Negroes, who maybe was the first black this or the first black that. And these people didn't fight. What they said, yo, you seen what happened to them? Let's figure it. And we at a point right now where we as a people are so disenfranchised. And one of those reasons is because of economics. So our upper economics don't relate to the bottom. And the bottom is 70% of the population.
Wow.
So if the bottom is the part that's disenfranchised, the upper who are doing well, they don't have the right to look down on the 70%. At this moment, we need that 30% to do their job. We sent you guys out to go get these educations and help us out, not to lord over us. So the people that do have the resources are the most responsible. So we can't ask people who's in the project who barely know not to throw grease into the toilet, who barely know regular home skills. And I don't want to put that on an underinvested population. I don't want to put the burden on the population that has been handed all of these atrocities.
Sharonda.
I want to address what Muta's point. Muta made a point talking about the 70% that just have not had the right education, experience, and exposure, and stating that the 30% who was sent off to get the education need to come back and like, hey, leave. You know what that sounds like? That concept, and there's a lot of black folks in America who don't like it. But Du Bois, and I always tell people it's an ecological rule, the 10% rule about those that you try to exterminate, and then they end up surviving, and they end up thriving, and they end up being a threat. That's the talented 10th. That 10% that is going to survive regardless of all the pitfalls and all the terrible things you try to do to us and against us. And yes, they're supposed to come back and help. But you know what happens when people try to come back and help after they get an education? People look at them, oh, just because you went to college, that don't make you better. You think you better. And sometimes people don't receive that well. And they say, you know what, you stay where you at, because you're gonna sit up here and be nasty to me when I'm trying to come back and build my community. I just had this conversation yesterday. Somebody that kept running for office, and it was like, I said, forget it. They said their family was mad, like all these resources you spent on trying to help the community, help this, help that, and all those people were ungrateful to you and saying you think you something. Da, 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 da. The very same people that he was coming back to help and to lift up, and that's why some people get what they get, their education, their money, and they leave people alone because they don't want. And I'm not saying I do, because I'm in the trenches all the time. But there are people who are like, I'm not coming back to help nobody. I did it myself. I quote unquote pulled myself up by the bootstraps, and look where I am. They could do it too. I don't agree with that, because my thing is we have to come and give back and help others. But then folks got to learn to stop being nasty and don't bite the hand that feeds you. Because when those who are educated or who have just like Muta said, when they done with you, who you gonna have? What you gonna do? It takes two to tango, and people are not gonna come back like that. Like people say, oh, people come back to the hood. Look at Nipsey and all these other people.
Good point,
Trying to
Jody.
help people.
Oh,
It's such a toss up.
Jody,
It's a toss up.
Jody,
In a meeting.
Jody, are you still there? Okay, maybe Jody will be back with us. I don't know what happened with Mike. Jody, are you there? Okay, so I think she's trying to get back on. I see her mic going in and out, but until she does, Mutat. So this is my thing, right? I just want to comment on something that Sharonda said because I see both sides of the coin here. I think both of you are saying somewhat of the same thing because I hear that the responsibility, like we're talking about parental responsibility. That's what I hear that we, have in common, right? So I do want to just elaborate a little bit to get your thoughts, Muta, on something that Sharonda said about people coming back to the community to help. And then she used the analogy biting the hand that feeds them. And I want to say personally, I've experienced that. Like when you come back to help, people do not gravitate to the help. Like it's almost like they feel better. I'll do it by myself. We don't need you. We're not supporting you. And it's like, wait a minute, like, huh? So it's kind of weird. So that was a dynamic that Sharonda just brought up. Thank you for that. Muta, what do you think about that?
I definitely understand the frustration when I'm talking to an audience or a person and I'm clearly the person that is the more educated or maybe the more resourceful. The person I'm talking to, I have to be able to come to where they are. So these are people that are frustrated, that are usually been lied to. So I can't come into a situation and think that I'm not going to be dealt with some type of apprehension. We talking about stressed out communities, and I could definitely get it. I've been on the end where I'm in the middle of a food distribution, and the people are throwing down the Brussels sprouts, saying we don't want this, and it's like we just giving our food. You ain't have to be so nasty about it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but understanding the population that we're dealing with and the harming that's best where we're at, right? Where we're at mentally as a people, we are broken people. So
Yeah.
if you are one of the people that are somewhat fixed, then you hold that responsibility to get over, whatever they're saying to you. Same like if you have a Tourette's patient, this Tourette's patient is going to say the wildest thing. So you as the professional can't react to what that Tourette's patient is saying. You still have to treat them.
So in the treatment, right? People have to submit to the treatment. And I think what Sharonda is alluding to, and she could definitely, give clarity. And Jody, if you're back, I'd like to hear from you as well. When we talk about 3% of the people coming out, that means like nearly no one is coming out. Because let's be clear, of the 3% of the people that came out to vote for the school board election, about 2.9% were seniors. And I seriously question, is everybody stressed out to that extent? And maybe they are. I'd like to hear your opinion on it. Is the level of frustration that high? Because when I look at these different parties and stuff that's going on, they're packed. When I look at the sneaker stores, they're packed. And when I look at the polling sites, they're empty. So what can we do to bring a solution? Because feeding an entire other 40,000 students into this prison industrial system, right? Because people are stressed out. This cannot happen. So I'm solution orientated with this. What can happen? Jody, are you back with us? Okay, Jody, let me try to add her to the stream. Jody, are you back?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes. Did you hear what we just was saying? I would love for you to weigh in.
Yes, I did. So, and bear with me, right?
Mhm.
While I understand Mutah's passion and his consideration of the Black experience, right, and its perils, I understand it. But let's be frank, right?
Mhm.
The life that those that gave us legislative change to start our lives, that changed our lives, right? Their lives were not good. When Mutah said people aren't coming back with money, right? Malcolm X didn't even own the home he lived in. Martin Luther King Jr.'s bills were paid by outside entities. They were no different than Sheila Montague. No different. Where the hood took care of them because they recognized their dedication to the movement, right? That
Right.
is excusatory behavior, right? Everyone was down. No one was doing well. Even even our entertainers that gave their money and their time, they weren't doing well. These were Black people in the worst circumstances we've ever seen. We didn't need money to continue that movement because they didn't need money to start it. We just, I'm sorry, we just dropped the ball. We allowed our children to be inundated with social media, videos, movies, and excuses that now they're just one big excusatory fucking behavior. You want to know the truth? That is our truth. No one is going to come and save us. There is no group that has any authority in the country of America that's going to come and save the Negro. Because they're looking at us saying, how the hell did we save ourselves in the country that they fucking built and they dropped the ball? That's your reality. So when Malcolm X went on the street and said to the dope fiend, you ain't feeding your kids and you smell and you need a bath and you need to be a man, it didn't feel good. It doesn't sound good. It sounds totally accusatory. But let's be honest. Nobody voted in the school board election, but nobody voted in the mayoral election. And nobody votes in the senatorial elections. It ain't like they picking and choosing because they mad about something. We have fell off as a people. And until we be honest with each other as a people, how in the hell can we fix it? And at this juncture, right, we can't even get mad at what we call the man or the white man or the establishment because this is real life, right? So if I was a white man, I would say, why the hell I gotta stand up for them? And they won't even stand up against each other. The fact that most urban centers, Newark, Detroit, Pennsylvania, Atlanta, have been run by Black people that Black people put in office, and we allow them to treat us worse than white people
Who in the hell should respect us as a people? That's just hurtful. I look at Sheila's face because Sheila is that I want to save my people. I don't want to talk against my people. My people have enough against them that I don't want to be that. Sometimes, like the Most High has to do, like parents have to do, you have to shake the shit out of your children and tell them when they are doing wrong. Or how will they fix it? We're just gonna walk around and act like this is all cool and that black people have been so oppressed and suppressed that we're just in a conundrum. No, we created this. We allowed this. And now we stuck in our shit. I'm done.
I need to say amen to that. People get mad at me.
That was so powerful.
Oh, listen. People
Wow.
get mad at me, but it's true that, it's up to us. But I want to also blame the music because the music has lulled us into thinking I'm not a fan of Tupac because he made black men think they had to be thugs. He made thug life the biggest deal, and I hate it because as soon as men started being thugs, they started turning me off heavy.
Muta, what are your thoughts?
I just think that when we look at, so let's take the last point that you said, music. We don't own, we've never owned the message that came out of music. So when we understand the propaganda that the programming that we're under, right? That I don't want us to go and say that, all right, we did the past, now we're here. No, we had a whole war on drugs
Mm-hmm.
that corrupted a whole generation, two generations. And we didn't wake up, like we still haven't woke up. Like, so when we look at other populations, how they describe us is subhuman. So other populations, when they're in their corners, they describe African Americans as subhumans. Um, and that's because we don't have the basic survival skills to get ahead. Like everybody, any animal, anything, they know that when you're in danger, you come together. We've been programmed out of that. Our grandmothers told us, don't come in a house with them filthy drugs. And we it's not our fault. So when you look at us and you see the disenfranchisement that we're in, we have to understand the systematic programming that went to now to just say, yo, we need to wake up someday, we need to wake up today and get it together. It sounds good. Sounds like, yeah, we do need to. Yeah, we need to wake up. Has has that ever happened? I don't we don't have the historical record to show that happening to people who haven't been aided at all and has been under captivation for over 400 years. So just because the Emancipation Proclamation happened, we're not free. We haven't been free ever. The illusion of freedom, these voting rights that we have. If we don't have access to the economics to put who we want to put in office, they are putting people in
Mm-hmm.
office. This isn't us voting on anything. And this is where the disenfranchisement comes because we realize that we can't compete with a machine. So voting becomes moot because the people historically who has the most resources have won. I mean, I yield that I can't blame my people.
So
I would like to
Mutai,
add on a little bit to that if it's okay, but Sharonda, I'll yield to you as well so that you can share your thoughts.
I'm sorry, I wanted to address Mutai because I was in the music business and I remember being in the studio and hearing rappers rap about good stuff, empowerment, this, that, and the third. And then the people from the record company were like, no, you got to come harder. You got to say this. You got to say that. But like, they was like, but I don't want to say that. But you want to get on, right? So the difference now, see, back in the day, you had to do that to get on. But nowadays, we got things like StreamYard, we got everything, Spotify, all this. Our people could be doing these movements, and they could be putting this music out, this messaging out. There's no more excuses now. You ain't got to get signed. You could be unsigned hype. You could be on YouTube and getting these messages out to the people. Yes, our people have gotten far down into the pits. Like you said, other communities look at us like we are subhuman. I mean, I don't think any of us on here are subhuman, but you can think of some people that you've seen or interacted with, and if that's all they knew as blackness, they would definitely think we were all subhuman. Because I've experienced those kinds of people. But you know what's interesting? And you know what, Mucha, I gotta talk about that food too. I have definitely with this, and you know what it helped with? It helped with this. They're like, oh, we also have to educate them on the nutritional value of some of these fruits and vegetables that they may not have known about. And when they make those kinds of comments, you gotta tell them, listen, open your mind. And it's a shame because the narrowness of our thinking of what people want to say, this is what black is. It wasn't always like that. Like y'all talk about, with the civil rights movement, those different people. They didn't have all these media distractions that we have. People got their messages and their information about what to do, where to be, where to go from church. They read the newspaper. Too many people ain't reading this newspaper to start. Let me not say nothing crazy. But some of these newspapers, you could have been there at the event. They're getting stuff wrong, saying stuff wrong names. People don't have time to do that. And then the articles, it's like, okay, get right to the point. It ain't got to be a page and a half. We're finding out news and information on social media. And the problem is that you can find good stuff on social media, but there's some people like adults, they're looking at crap, meaningless stuff. So all their time, their mental saturation is pointless. We got to get a better message to our people, snag them, grab them where they are, and give them positivity. And myself, that's why I work with the young people. My ministry is ages 14 to 26, and they are still ready to learn. They're ready to expand their minds, because I find that that's how you can really help with the next generation. And sometimes we gotta take that step.
And so that's a great segue into the comment I wanted to make. And thank you for that, Sharonda. We have to get more involved with the young people. And again, just bringing back to the title of this show, right? An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Right now, we need a lot of cure. Like I said, when we're talking about, men and women at this point coming back into society, right? Re-entering. And we're talking about recidivism, right? Them coming out, not being able to still sustain themselves and going back in repeatedly many times, right? These are problems that we need cures for, right? And so just an ounce of prevention, right, looks like an ounce of intervention within the school system. And definitely, I think it was Mutad that said something about, we don't have control over these votes and who people put in. I just want to double down on that and say that he absolutely has a point. The people who we have on our school board for years, they've never been the popular people who the people in the city, the citizens wanted, right? So it's like, what's behind the curtain, so to speak, that are making these choices. And because it's behind the curtain, proverbially, so we don't know, right? So it's like we're shadow boxing, right? We don't know who we're boxing against, but we know that there's some opposition. We know that there's some opposition. So when this opposition is in place and we don't know who they are, we can't really assess how strong they are, and that our people should supersede that. Something else that Mutar said that really held true, even with the voting, like, how do we know how our votes are going? How do we know if the whole town is not voting for new leadership, but their votes aren't even counting. Like, we have no oversight. We don't have people who are like, who do we trust over the vote? I mean, really, people are working together. And that's another thing that could foster people not voting. The fact that even if you look at on a national level, when the president gets in, we see all of these people who get things, but they don't trickle down to the people in the street. It never trickles down to the people in the street. We see people, even on the municipal level as well. And when I say get things, let's be specific. They get jobs, they get real estate, they get different incentives and kudos and newspaper articles and whatever their interest, lies in. We see them receive these things, and they get things to make them happy for their support. And what do the people get? If they're lucky, a two-piece and a biscuit. And for years I always say, like, that's not worth our vote, but people are getting something, and when it trickles down, that's what they get. So they're looking for it. Even when I'm running, they're looking for, hey, I'm at least supposed to get my two-piece and a biscuit. Where is it? And if they're not getting that anymore, and by that, and again, I'm speaking in terms of analogy, they're not getting the after-school programs for the kids that used to happen. Even the young people that are in the street not making the best decisions are questioning, hey, why are the good kids out here with us? Like, what changed? What's going on? Right? And I know that from being out in the street, right? And so there are some things that we have here. We're not going to solve them all in this night, but I would like to go around and hear if there was one or two solutions that you can. It's 8:52, so you guys don't be too long. But if there was some solutions that we could implement immediately, one, two, things that we could do immediately, as a group, as a people. And granted that we're not a monolith, and granted in our group there's levels to this, right? Like, there are people who want to help, but it's very hard to, right, because of the mindsets, right? And they have a reason for that. I mean, look at the last election when they did get an opportunity, so they thought, to vote somebody in office. And whether that was on a municipal level or a national level, right? They feel cheated. They feel that they got a raw deal. So, what are some solutions that we can execute to try to attempt to move forward, in our pathway of, progression here in the city of Newark?
So I gotta build my I have to build my messaging, right? So one thing we have to be cognizant of when we say things like we've been given a raw deal, right? Is that in 1865, right, to 1970s, we could directly historically prove that that was done by white people in this country to suppress black people, right? But in the last 50 years, now these urban centers are being run by black people. You tell me the last time there was a white mayor in Newark, East Orange, Irvington, Orange, Hillside. These are now black people running urban centers. And that is what our ancestors were fighting for the right of us to have our own voice, right?
Right. That's right.
And if we are frank, it is those leaders who sell us out to the state leaders that sell us out to the national leaders. That's a backyard problem. That ain't a country problem. That isn't the state of black people in white America. That is the state of black people in black America. That's a problem.
Yeah.
So when you say to me, is there a solution? Absolutely. Listen, if it was done then, when we were being lynched in trees, and it was legal to lynch us in trees and treat us like animals, and we couldn't sit at counters, and our ancestors made that better, then we know, yes, we can change. What will it take? Real leadership. Our black leadership now, right? They go for the dollar, not for the people. Listen, this is what people have to be honest with themselves about Mayor Baraka. When Mayor Baraka came into mayorship, he beat the establishment. He beat the establishment of not just because people in Newark see it so small. The mayor election, right, is not just Essex County. That's Norcross in South Jersey, who they want to see as the mayor in Newark. That is a conglomerate, right? And this is what you know. He beat the establishment. They had $400,000 in Shavar Jeffries' coffer. Raz Baraka had $60,000 in his coffer. He beat him on the street, but what he chose, what he proved to us as a people is, oh, you can't beat the establishment, right? Once he got in, he had the people behind him. The people. He had to make a choice whether I'm going to stick with the people or I'm going to go with the establishment. That was a choice that was made very early when he said, I will never capitulate. That is exactly what he did. What he showed black people is some black Negroes will do a Ungawa black power on you, and it's a hustle. He hustled black people into thinking that Ungawa black power, poetry reading, I will never capitulate, I am down with y'all, when I'm mayor, you're mayor, that I love y'all so much, I'ma stand with y'all. And all he ever wanted was to get in so he could get in with them. That was planned. We didn't fall into that. We have to be honest and say, that's what a black man in my community did to us as a people. And we will call that out from now on, no matter how it looks. Because, see, in my world, Raz Baraka makes Donald Trump look like Joe Biden. Donald Trump can't affect my life, and I had no theories of grandeur that he cared about me as a people. But when black people, when you want to talk about how to destroy black people, when black people believe in black people, that Raz Baraka loves the kids, and he was a principal, and he always been in the street, and he wouldn't capitulate, and put him in the office, and he give you dirty fucking water. Oh, that's gonna break a Negro, as it should.
Thank you, Jody. So the solutions is to stay on it, to speak truth to power, and good stuff there, Jody. And guys, it's 8:59, but we're just gonna try to push this last couple of minutes to get some final thoughts. Sharonda and then Muta.
Real quick, one of the ways that we fix this is to support organizations like Operation Grow Inc. www.operationgrowinc.org. There's a May 31st gala coming up. People need to support what's really making things happen and bringing the youth to the right places and giving them the right opportunities, experiences, and exposure. And we got to stop just being clout chasers and going to the parties. And we got to go to places where we're celebrating authenticity and doing things that are bringing the children in the right places. That's it.
Good stuff. Thank you, Sharonda. We appreciate you so much for all that you do. And Muta, just solutions. What do you think? You don't have to rush that fast, but don't be you really long either.
So, Sheila, we've been making great steps.
Yeah.
I don't think that we didn't land here overnight, and there's not an overnight solution. I think that we have these serious conversations. We move and we do things. So Operation Grow Inc. is helping lives. Wage is helping lives. Monsters is helping lives. So we do what we're doing because we're not talking to people who aren't progressive on this phone. On this line, it's not people who aren't moving. So we continue to do what we're doing. We be consistent. Um, we also we look at our population and we understand we got to look at them from a place of a nurturer. So a mother knows that her child is doing certain things at certain stages because that's the stage of this. And we must look at our people the same way that we're in a certain stage, especially those that are affected most. And we treat our people in that state, in the nurturer state, not in the accusatory state, because all of our ancestors' trials and tribulations landed us right here. And we must do what we have to do to hand our kids and our future generations a better situation.
Excellent. Thank each and every one of you for joining tonight. And until next time, let's continue to wage love.